Hey, listeners, it's Kara, your host. After 176 amazing episodes and hundreds of book recommendations, I wanted to make it a little bit easier for you to find your next great read. The Bookish Lights Roadmap is your guide to all 175 podcast episodes, sorted by genre, so you can quickly find the stories that fit your reading mood. From picture books to adult novels and everything in between, it's the perfect way to explore past episodes and discover new favorites. You can find your copy of the Bookish Lights Roadmap at www.bookishlights.com/read/roadmap, or just click the link in the show notes. Hi, I'm Kara Infante, and this is Bookish Flights, a podcast where we tell our stories through our favorite books. Each episode features a bookish guest where we will talk about reading, life, and the seasons we're in, all through a thoughtfully paired book flight of recommendations for you. If you're looking for meaningful book recommendations and a space to slow down, you're in the right place. In today's episode, I am chatting with Michelle Maryk. Michelle is a writer and performer with a background in acting, comedy, and voice work, and a lifelong fascination with the supernatural. She studied at Cornell University and the Yale Writers Workshop, and after years in the creative space, she returned to her first love, writing fiction. Her debut novel, The Found Object Society, is an atmospheric, genre-bending story about a secret society where members can relive the final moments of someone else's life. It's eerie, immersive, and explores grief, addiction, and the choices we make in the aftermath of loss. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, of
Delighted.
course. With listeners, we had a little bit, well, I had a little bit of a mishap. I was not up at the right time this morning. So Michelle is so gracious that she was like, yes, we can bump this interview a little bit, but we are finally here and I'm glad to have you.
It's all good, all
Yes.
fine. I'm an early bird. Writers often are,
Yes, me as
or night
well.
owls. It's one or the two.
Yeah. I don't think you can be both. Like, I just think your brain does not work in both capacities.
No, you need sleep. You
Yeah.
need sleep at some point. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I always love to start with, I feel like we're so much more than these bios, but telling us a little bit about yourself and your journey back to writing fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so as you said, I went to Cornell, and I studied creative writing, and just English literature, and I was also a theater major. And at that time, I joined a comedy improv group at college too, and that was sort of a big formative thing for me in the way trajectory my life took. Um, but so when I graduated, my professors had really wanted me to go get my MFA in creative writing. And I was like, no, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to be on SNL. So that didn't happen. But I did end up having and continue to have, a pretty successful uh, voiceover, on-camera commercial, and, comedic actor career.
Okay.
And so during that span, I mean, we're talking like 25 years here. The writing I did sort of took more the form of sketches, one woman shows. I wrote a couple screenplays,
Yeah.
and then really it wasn't until 2019 that I was like, hey, I think I want to try and go back to narrative fiction writing. And so that's when I started writing my first novel. I guess when I was like 20, I was like, there's no way I can ever write a novel. Like, I was writing short stories at the time, and I was like, I can't ever do that. But
Yeah.
I think with age comes some patience and,
At
acquired
least we hope
knowledge
so.
and yeah, yeah. So I actually really, I so enjoy it. And yeah, I wrote two novels, and then I was starting to write a third, and then and I was doing the whole querying thing, and I was getting kind of close, and then the idea for the Found Object Society sort of came to me. So I was like, "Oh, I need to do this." So I actually stopped writing the other one and dove into this one, and this is what ended up getting me my agent, and we decided this would be the first one that we'd go out on submission with. And fast forward to February 10th, 2026, when the book came out. So,
Yeah.
um, so it's been thrilling.
Yeah, I was gonna say what, and I mean, I'm not a writer myself, but the
Yeah.
excitement, right, of like it's been this lifelong kind of goal, but then now you're here. That's so
Yeah.
exciting.
I know. Yeah. It's why, and it takes a lot of times it takes life experience to be able to do these things. I mean, some people, yeah, they're like right out of the gate, 20, whatever, and
Yeah,
they're awesome at it. And I was a good writer, but I certainly couldn't have written, the Found Object Society or
yeah,
any of what I've written without, you know, having experienced a life in the way that I have. So, and I've had a
absolutely.
lot of fun along the way. So,
Yeah.
it's been good.
So for listeners that haven't read The Found Object
Yeah.
Society yet, why don't we tell them a little bit about it?
Yes, that would be a very good idea. So the Found Object Society, it's a novel of speculative suspense, and we'll get into the speculative thing a little later when I
Yeah.
talk about the books, my flight. Um, but it's sort of an umbrella term that covers stories that are grounded in reality, but sort of branch out into the what could be or what if. Like, for instance, Margaret Atwood is your perfect example for a speculative
Yeah.
uh, author. So it's like what could be. So the Found Object Society centers around this deeply troubled train wreck socialite named Greta Davenport, who has suffered a terrible tragedy, 20 years actually to the night from when the book actually starts. Where as a teenager, she snuck out of the house and went to a party, and she was not supposed to be there. And so her parents went looking for her, and they found her. And as they were driving home, they got into a car accident, and they died, and she survived. So for 20 years now, she's sort of swallowed down the guilt of this experience, and she's filled that hole with like booze and drugs and reckless sex. And so here, 20 years later, she is leaving a gala that she helped organize in a huff, and she's inebriated and driving, and she almost crashes her car into a tree. And when she gets home, she discovers there's a white blank square card that gets shoved under her front door. And when she opens the door, there's no one there. And, she doesn't think too much about it until the next day. And she's scrolling through her phone, and her camera like latches onto a QR code hidden within this blank card. And it's this very trippy invitation to the Found Object Society, which is a very secretive, nefarious society, which is underground in this building in the South Street Seaport. It's an actual building. There's no Found Object Society there.
Okay.
Um,
Fun.
but it's in the South Street Seaport. It's the third oldest building in the city. But basically, this society allows its very wealthy members to choose one of thousands of objects from different eras and regions. And when they hold that object, they experience the death of the last person who died touching it. So it's a very addictive experience for this
Yeah.
already addictive personality. And and she keeps going that these deaths are called voyages. And she soon discovers that she might be able to manipulate the outcome of these voyages. And she thinks, well, if I could do that, maybe I can do something to change my own past. Dot, dot, dot.
Yes.
It's super spoiler world if we keep going.
Yes, yeah, keep it at that. But
Yeah.
there's so many things you said in there, and I think, I don't know, lately I feel like I've been immersed in these secret society worlds and I am loving
Yeah.
it. But we
I
have
know. They're
had,
fun.
yeah, I think two other book flights we've had that feature secret society books
Karen,
or
Karen wins the society for sure,
yes, yeah,
right?
we did that. And then there was someone that brought actually a book flight of three books that were secret society type
Oh,
books.
wow.
And I'll look it up. Listeners, I'll
Yeah,
include that one in the show notes if
cool.
you want more secret society. But I have just been loving this little realm because it
Hmm.
seems so realistic, but just that twist, like you said, of the speculative of like,
Yeah,
well, that probably couldn't be, but it's so realistic and then exploring like even her addictive personality. I mean, when I was
Mhm.
reading it, I just felt so connected to the character and I could,
Oh, good.
yeah, I absolutely loved it for that.
I'm
But
so glad. Thank you. Yeah, it was it's really a feverish kind of a book, and
yes.
it was a fever dream for me to write it. Um and
Well, it sounds like
it
it got a
really
hold
was.
of you and you had to write it,
Yeah, I did,
like, yeah.
and I wrote it in 4 months.
Wow.
So yeah, and yeah, it was really fun, and these different voyages, deaths, they're you could almost extract them from the book and they could be a standalone
Yeah,
like
story.
30-page story
Yeah.
mystery. So for readers it's really like if you've ever seen and listeners if you've ever seen the movie Being John Malkovich. It's sort of like that because you like literally get transported into the through the eyes of the person who's going to die, and it's not like
Yeah.
the moment of death, it's the build up. So you have about like a month or so before, it just depends on which one of these three. There are four, but the fourth one is a big spoiler.
Yeah.
Um,
Enough to get tied into it, right? Where you're
yeah,
like, what? And you're
yep,
fighting for that new character.
right, yeah, and you're wondering how that object, either a 19th century perfume bottle from France or Elton John windshield wiper sunglasses from 1970s California or 1920s enameled cigarette lighter, you're left
Yeah.
wondering how that is going to be the last thing that person touches. So
Yeah.
it's sort of fun. You get these little mysteries sprinkled throughout.
Yeah. So it sounds like you had fun writing it as
I had a
well.
great time. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really did.
What was your
Um,
favorite part to explore
Um, ooh, well, they
or
were
theme?
all really delightful.
Yeah.
I'd say that the first one, that 19th century France one, was maybe the most sort of research heavy, just because, it's not as familiar
Yeah.
an era. Um, but I have to say, Lassiter Evans, the wannabe serial killer in the 1970s in Central California, he was maybe my favorite, just because he's so sort of pathetic. He's this
Yeah.
wannabe serial killer, like Ted Bundy was just arrested. And so like he's like, wow, why is this guy getting attention? I really, like that's what I'm gonna strive for. And so you get fun with the 1970s too, and there's
Yeah.
like a club with disco. So I had a great time, especially with that one. But they were
Yeah.
all really enjoyable.
I liked
Um,
that story, and that's part of why back when I was thinking about I wanted to do a podcast and what I was going to do with it. And I always love when books have a little bit of connection. Like you find a thread that, oh, that's like, and so to the
mhm.
point of Lassiter Evans is just a few months ago, I had read Bright Young Women. Have
Oh,
you read
okay.
that one? It's
I
about
have
Ted
not.
Bundy.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yep,
actually, it's more about from the victim's perspective and the
yes,
women.
yeah,
But it just was like, it reminded me of that story because I was so much more
right,
familiar with his story from having recently read that. And I was like,
yeah,
oh, here's that little thread like of
right.
connection
And
between
it's
another book.
connecting, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're all kind of obsessed. Well, I don't want to say everyone, but a lot of people are obsessed with like the whole serial killer thing.
Yeah. And true
Um,
crime. And I mean,
yeah,
that's a very popular genre for a reason,
yeah,
right? I mean, we love,
yeah, for
I
sure.
think for me, I love exploring like, how in the world could people do that and why? Yeah. You know?
And why? Yeah, yeah, and Lassie isn't very good at it, so.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, what is your wish for readers? What do you hope they'll take away when they read The Found Object Society?
Well, it's interesting because I've had it. People have asked me this in the past, and I've sort of had different answers. But I was at an event on Tuesday night, and I realized like someone in the audience had read it, and he said, did you set out to write a book about addiction?
Yeah.
Because to me, this book was really about addiction, and I realized at that time I was like, I didn't set out to write a book about addiction. But I think I set out to write a book where it was whatever it is to the reader. Um,
Yeah.
and like to him, that's what that book is about. And to other people, it's about, you know, overcoming trauma and grief. And to other people, it's transportive and escapist and sort of fun, and it like can be a beach read because you're getting all these different angles. So my real wish is that you trust that you let it be whatever you want it to
I
be.
like that.
Um, and because it does cover a lot of really, heavy topics, but because of my comedic background, I always like to have humor in it. So, I try and keep things lighter at times and make you be able to laugh. And but I really personally just enjoy the idea, the escape of getting into these points of views of other people, however grim it is that they end up, dying, and then the secretive society too is a whole other thing. So, that's
Yeah.
not a real answer. But it was just sort of this little light bulb that went off when this person said that in the audience. And I was like, and the ending, you have the ending however you want it to be. There's no right or wrong answer. And your interpretation of the book, there are a lot of things to take from it. So,
Yeah.
so obviously something's going to connect with you, and whatever part of it that is the right part.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think you could try too hard to make it be something else, right? And then that
Right.
just takes away from the book. So
Yeah.
I really enjoy that answer.
Okay, good. However lengthy.
Yeah. No, all good. Well, what did you learn about yourself through writing this book?
Um, wow, that's a good one. Well, I think I learned, like, it really cemented for me how my background in improvisation for all these years has really helped me become a more mature writer and a more
Yeah.
confident writer, because I try to think of each morning facing the blinking cursor or blank page, like an improv. So it's like I would never just, if I'm on stage and someone's, they throw out suggestions like a noun or something. Like I'd never just sort of stand there and be like, hang on, I got to think about this for an hour and a half and I'll come
Yeah.
back and I'll do something really funny. You just have to sort of trust and
Yeah.
go. And so that same mental space of like just trusting that you're going to be able to do it and just diving into it. Um, uh, so I think every day I was like, this is really the way that I can write with confidence in my own voice, by thinking of it in an improvisational way.
Yeah.
So yes, and it makes it more fun because I don't outline. Like I'm not like a big outliner. I have
Yeah.
a lot of notes, but I don't outline. So I have ideas about things, but you make I think someone called it like discovery writing recently. But so you just discover things that like your protagonist discovers along the way, and
Yeah.
and that informs the whole story. So I learned to trust
Yeah.
that aspect.
That's one of my favorite topics to talk about on the show because, as you know, we said offline that I am a military spouse, and there a
Hmm.
lot of my network are military spouses just based off our life. And
Yeah.
many of us have had to change jobs and be creative. And so I love
Hmm.
what you're saying about the that your improvisation career has just fueled and been so helpful for your writing. Because I think the
Yeah.
moment we can think about our what our skills, our quote unquote skills
Hmm.
are, what we're trained in a different capacity, you see how well they translate into other
Yeah.
things. But that is very hard to do when all you know has been one thing for a real long
Right.
time.
It
Um,
is.
but it is, you just have to be creative and just be open to that it can be different.
I I think that's the biggest part, to be open to pivoting.
Yeah.
um and yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Uh,
just need to be like, okay, like this isn't exactly what I planned, but I can do this.
yeah. And then you look back and you see, oh,
Yeah.
okay, well, that actually is very similar to what I was doing
Right.
before, but in a
It,
different way.
right. They're parallel, you
Yes.
know. Yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
found that, I was interviewing patients in the clinic as a physical therapist every hour. I'm interviewing
Hmm.
you. I have to get to know you. I have to know what you want. I have to know what's hurting you. And then I have to fix you in an hour. And so I've just found that that has translated really well to podcasting because we have such a short time and we
Yeah.
want to go a little bit deeper than just like, oh, what's your book about? And that's it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, no,
So,
exactly. That's exactly how those skills mesh.
yeah.
I don't know if I was a mathematician, if I could say the same thing that it would apply, here, but I never was a mathematician, so
Exactly. Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I need to change, I want to change, I don't quite know,
yeah.
just be creative with it.
Yeah. And I truly recommend improv to people, like just not to like, oh, I want to be a performer, but it really does help in so many different careers and facets. Like it just helps you in your confidence and ability to, speak or handle unexpected situations. It's really a good thing. And
Yeah.
it can be fun and cathartic.
I have done a lot of training since stepping into this podcasting role in public speaking, just because that
Oh,
was not a lot, but that's been one thing I will dig in on is
yeah.
learning public speaking. And it always seems like comedy is like the top threshold of because there is so little preparation time
Hmm.
that goes into that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
maybe like especially improv, right? Like you
Yeah.
can't possibly prepare for that per se.
No.
So,
Yep.
but yeah, it seems like that's like the peak of public speaking is to be able to be up at the improv level from when
Right.
I
And
do
and
things.
yeah, and make people laugh and just sort of come up with things on the cuff and not overthink. I think, so often in every whatever the career path one has, we just tend to overthink.
Yeah.
And when you sort of trust that, your brain synapses will, fire and come up with something, that's a good thing,
Yeah.
just to let it go.
Absolutely. Well, I have to ask, are you
Mhm.
working on a new project?
Well, yes. Well, the book I told you I stopped writing to start this one.
Yeah.
I finished back in October, and
Okay.
we're actually just hoping to sell that one. That
Yeah.
one's a little more literary horror, but I really enjoyed that one too. That one's called Mater.
Okay.
Um, and and then for the Found Object Society, we're certainly hoping to do like a sequel and or prequel. A lot of the edits that we did in the book we're sort of planning,
Sure.
like little breadcrumbs to get to that place. So, that's hopefully bubbling somewhere. I have little, not outlines because I don't outline, but I have little like synopsis for each, the
Sure.
prequel or the sequel. So once I hear, yeah, we want that, then I can dive into that. But I'm just about to start writing a new, sort of more speculative,
Okay.
book too. So you always
Yeah.
gotta keep writing, gotta
Well,
keep
that's what I was
going.
like. I would love to ask that because even though you might not have a fully formed thing yet, but I know
Yeah.
you don't stop from the moment the book when it publishes, you're still going.
No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No.
Especially on timelines of publishing, right? I mean, this was like, happens like a year or two out, and then it's
Yeah.
finally,
Yeah, it's
we're
definitely close to
finally
2 years.
access. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not like you can just be like, doo dee doo. I mean, you could, but
Yeah,
you probably shouldn't if you want to keep on writing and getting published. So
absolutely. Well,
yeah.
let's switch gears a little bit and let's
Mhm.
talk about who you are as a reader. What
Yes.
genres do you enjoy?
I love to read sort of everything. I'm be it literary or classics, horror, speculative, thrillers, mysteries. I am a big fan of speculative, though. I
Yeah.
really am. Like a sort of I grew up with, horror and scary stuff in my DNA. Like as a kid, my dad would take me to this roadside Dairy Queen next to a graveyard and tell me ghost stories and things. And we'd
I
always
love
watch
it.
like, yeah, we'd always watch scary movies. So like to me, that was like, well, that's how you tell stories. Like they have to
Yeah.
have something weird or scary going on. And I just loved it. So, I gravitate towards that, but I'm very open to everything. I do make a point not to read the something similar to what I'm writing
Oh,
at the
yeah.
time. Like these three books that I will talk about. I would not have read any of those while writing the
Yeah.
Found Object Society.
That makes sense.
Um, but let's see, what am I reading right? I'm right now. I'm reading. Matthew Sullivan, he's a lovely writer. He wrote a book called Bright Idea, no, Midnight in the Bright Ideas Bookstore.
Oh, I love that
And that,
title.
yeah, it's so good. And then this is sort of not exactly in the same world, but I'm reading Midnight at Soap Lake, which
Okay.
is very good.
I
And
I
yeah,
haven't heard
so
of either of
he's
them. I'm
great.
gonna have to check them out.
Yeah, we did an event together in Washington State a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's very good.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. How in your busyness do you find time to read with the writing and life and all of that?
I think you just have to read a lot as a writer. Not to it's not like to copy what anyone else is doing, but it's really to just sort of I mean, because it's enjoyable. I mean, it is
Yeah.
why we, write because we like reading. But it's important to, read other stories and other points of view and to see how people are doing it. Like two favorite authors of mine are Lou Berney and Megan Abbott. Like they both have such distinct voices in their writing. So when I was starting Found Object Society, like I read two of their books like just before, and I was like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to go for a
Yeah.
very distinct voice and my own voice, because they write like in their own rhythm and like come up with their own like words and things, and so I was like, I'm going to be that brave because what do I got to lose? So,
Yeah. And I could see that because even like I felt like I could have been Greta in the story,
oh, good.
right? Yeah. I mean, she was so distinct to me.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
you
Oh,
nailed
good.
it.
Awesome. I like to hear that. Thank
Well,
you.
I ask all the guests to bring three books in the form of a book flight. Can you tell us
Yes.
how you chose these books?
Yeah, well, as I've mentioned a few times now, I love speculative fiction, and the three that I have brought are definitely speculative. Speculative can lean into horror, it can lean into sci-fi. It often has a very strong social commentary, and and can often also take place in like a near future. Like you have your Margaret Atwood stories, and
Sure.
um, but so the three I brought today are Rob Hart's Paradox Hotel. The Paradox Hotel. And it's so good. We actually thought this was a comp. I didn't read it until after the Found Object Society. But it takes place in, somewhere in the future. And it's about time travel for the ultra rich, and powerful government entities,
Okay.
privatizing this technology for their, very questionable gain. And it centers around a female security officer who's trying to solve a murder, and she has this sickness from all this time travel called unstuck. And so it's very trippy. And then this time portal starts to glitch, and like little baby dinosaurs start sneaking through, and all sorts of things are going
Yeah.
wrong. And the Paradox Hotel is this actual hotel where these wealthy people travel to go to different time periods, and it's this great blend of like noir and sci-fi and thriller, and it's just a great time. So
Yeah.
that's the
Oh, it
Paradox
sounds really
Hotel.
fun. So
Yeah.
you're introducing me to so many new books today. Thank you.
Oh, good, good, good. And then keeping on the hotel theme,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but The Dream Hotel, by Lila Lalami, is also near future. Um, and actually so creepily possible that it was uncomfortable, but it's excellent.
Okay.
So it's about this Moroccan American scientist, and she's detained at LAX, the Los Angeles airport, because this algorithm has predicted that she's going to commit a violent crime against her husband, and they've discovered this by reading information in her dreams. And
Okay.
so she is detained and institutionalized, um, and and it's just really terrifying. And so it's this like detention center that, but they don't even call it that. They just called it like a holding center, but it's a prison basically,
Yeah.
where all these people, are being held even though they've never done anything, um, because their dreams have said that they're going to. And it's just so tense. But it's really worth it. It was like I might need an antacid while I'm reading this, but um and then a non-hotel book.
Yeah.
So that's The Dream Hotel by Lila Lalami. And
Thank
then
you.
yeah, and the next one is definitely more horror. Sarah Langan is just a genius, sort of modern horror author. Often writes about suburbia, and this book is called Good Neighbors.
Okay.
And she just has this way of like skewering the sweet kind of candy coating of suburbia, and just lets the gooey gore like spill out. And so this is very near future where it's gotten very hot. And this family moves into this sort of perfect, picture perfect neighborhood, and they're kind of an unconventional family. And everybody in the neighborhood disapproves of them, especially this one woman, who just has it out for them. And then one day, this huge sinkhole appears in the park, and it actually swallows up that woman's daughter.
Yeah.
And so everyone starts accusing this family of something, and it's really humorous too. It's like really ruthless, dark humor, and it's really a sort of expose about, the sort of fallacy of the American suburban dream
Yeah.
and perfection, and it's great. And this is I highly recommend Sarah Langan, and that's like the vein that she always writes in, and it's really perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds really good. And I don't often read too much horror because for me,
Yeah.
I read at night and I am always like, I don't want to be scared before I
Yeah.
go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many gradations of horror.
Yes.
Because I think automatically people will be like, oh, Friday the 13th or Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
But that's so, like Joyce Carol Oates is like a literary horror, author. So it's like it's so many different, things.
Yeah.
It can be discomfort, it can be, body horror, it can be actual supernatural stuff, it can be like, Freddy Krueger. But it's a lot of things, so it's worth exploring.
Yeah.
Because
I feel like now I'm like, now we need to do an episode on that
yeah,
and
yeah,
dig into that. Because
yeah,
it's
I
really the
recommend
one
her.
genre I don't read too much. And I always I joke around that I'm like, I wish it would come with a sticker like can read before bed.
Right.
Just so I would know,
Yeah,
like, okay, this is a good one. Like,
like
it'll
I'll be
push me to the
okay.
edge a little
Yeah,
bit, but I'll still be able to fall asleep after. Like,
right. Yeah. And I mean, Stephen King is brilliant too. It's like, he writes in a lot of, it's always sort of horror, but there are different levels of it. And he writes so beautifully. Like people often think like, oh, he's just like horror. It's like, no, he's really like a gorgeous, gorgeous writer. So,
yeah, there's a
um,
reason why we all
hmm
think Stephen King when
yep,
we think that, right?
yep.
Yeah.
And for you writers out there, if you don't know, he wrote truly one of the best books on writing that's out there, and it's called On Writing.
Yeah.
And the first half is sort of his story, and then the second half is a little more craft, and it's great.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that one.
yeah,
And
sure.
thank you for bringing those books with you. I always love learning new books, and I know the listeners love hearing more books that they could kind of dive in and
Oh,
explore these
cool.
topics a little bit
My
more.
pleasure.
So, how I love to end our show is with
Mhm.
our bonus pairings, which are a speed round of questions you can answer really
Ooh,
quick. Are you
okay.
a rereader?
Not so much. No.
Okay. All right.
Mm-mm.
What is one book you've read that has changed your life?
Time and Again, by Jack Finney, written in 1970. It's a really marvelous book, about time travel,
Okay.
in New York City. And yeah, if you love like Victorian era New York, it's really great.
Okay. Wonderful. Where is your favorite place to read?
I can read anywhere, but I mean, I guess I read at night, before I go to sleep. But because I try and read more and more these days, I just try and read anywhere and
Yeah.
everywhere I can.
Carry the
Yeah.
book with you wherever you go. I say that
Hmm.
all the time because then you
Yeah.
always, even if you have a 5 minute pocket of time, it's right there
Yep.
and ready to go.
Yep.
Well, you've already answered what you're reading right now. And my last question normally is, what are you reading next? Um,
Let's see. What am I reading next? Well, I have such a big, to be read TBR
yeah.
list. Let's see. I'm going to finish Matt's book. Um, well, my husband just started reading S.A. Cosby's King of Ashes. I would love to read
Yes.
that. And then I also just downloaded Chris Pavone, who I know we actually went to
Yeah.
college together, his
Oh,
book, The
that's fun.
Doorman.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's funny because I read so many like female authors. So sometimes I'm like, I have to read some more male authors too. So,
I feel that I swing that way too, quite a bit. Like, I'm
mhm.
like, okay, hold on, where's all the male authors?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think
So,
it's good to mix that up.
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show with me today. And
Oh,
I
so my pleasure.
appreciate all the time you've given me.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode today with Michelle Maryk to talk about her debut novel, The Found Object Society. Her book flight included speculative fiction books. We'd love to hear what books you love at bookishflights.com. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a review. Your review not only helps the show, but it also helps the podcast to reach others. Make sure you are subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to make sure you will not miss an episode. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. As Emma Thompson said, I think books are like people in the sense that they'll turn up in your life when you most need them. Cheers to you, dear readers. Until next time.